Facebook and Zoom if you're ready. So let's begin our service. If you wish to follow along with the service, you can scan the QR code posted comfortably cold. Please feel free to move to another seat out from under the air conditioner blower above, or use one of our freshly laundered blankets. You want to bring that basket up here so they know what we're talking about? Okay. You want to be in the in crowd? After this service, please leave the blanket on your chairs, and our wonderful hospitality team will ensure that you are clean, that they are clean, and ready for next week.
This new ministry is growing in popularity.
Start knitting.
For Andrew.
Okay, what am I offered? One left.
One more.
Hey, one more.
Now that is a ministry that was needed.
Might need another basket.
We absolutely may. Like somebody said, start knitting.
There's a reason for all that crochet.
Yes, there you go. In keeping with this Sunday after Labor Day, this morning we open our minds with the words lightly adapted from Paul Dalzell. On this Sunday after Labor Day, we continue to honor all work. Not only the work we do with our hands, our backs, and our minds, that is important, yes, but also the work we do for love. The work we do to help others stay alive and to belong instead of being outcasts. The work we do to ensure people are paid fairly, work reasonable hours, and have quality in their lives. The work we do caring for the young, the old, the infirm, and for each other. The work we do to mentor, to educate, to advocate, and to enrich the community, the country, the world, and our beloved community. We honor all the labors that support our world and all the work we do to make our world a better place. And now we will sing our theme hymn through the sung word with this month's theme, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, with our River of Grass Choir led by Theo Lucas. Please rise in body and spirit, or in spirit, as you are so moved, and sing along with the choir this beloved and joyous hymn.
Thank flaming chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. A fierce fire of religious liberty shining generation to generation, ours to hold high. At this morning, our chalice lighter is going to be our very own Leana. So please join with your voices with the words on the screen. You light this flame to remind us, love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. Eric Hebron. Okay, so I'm going to ask our students to do something in the next one. I'll do it in the school. In this undying light of love, let us renew our covenant as we say together. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Amor es el espíritu de esta congregación y el servicio su ley principal. Esta es nuestra gran promesa, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad a través del amor y ayudarnos mutuamente. Please turn to page 318 in the green hymnal, or see the screen above. As we sing together, we would be one. Let us rise together in body or in spirit, as you are so moved to sing together. In our community, each week, we share pieces of our lives. We take a moment to share our joys and sorrows and gratitudes. here with people who love us for exactly who we are, where we are right now. Here in this room, we will share from the book. If you're in Zoom and would like to share a thought, a prayer, a joy, or concern with us in this moment, write it in the chat, and we will lift them up together. We'll pause briefly to give our Zoom folks a little more time if needed. Praying for the victims of conflict and tyranny the world over, but remembering especially today, Gaza and the West Bank, Ukraine, Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Venezuela, Leana, and she's adding Israel as well. Karen and Gary light a candle for Greg Greenlight. Is there any, Karen, I pronounced your name right? Okay, thank you. And on Zoom we have, wow, congratulations to Judy Oatmans, whose son Michael had son Nicholas arrive this week. Judy is now a 3 times Granny. I miss you, Judy.
And now in the quiet of this hour, there is something on your own heart or mind that you wish to mark without words this morning. You're invited to come forward and drop a stone of reflection in the water as we hold one another in sacred community. For as William James wrote, we are like islands in the sea, separate on the surface, but connected in the deep. So let us share a moment now of silent reflection, connecting us to all who are in need. The water is coming. years of hearts, that we may serve one another and those beyond our walls with love and thankfulness today and every day. Amen, 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 aho, ashe, namaste, blessed be, and so it is. Let us transition now back to the next part of our service by singing together the lyrics that are on the screen. Number 381, if you'd like to see the melody. Oh, the melody was 371, excuse me. Okay. Each week at River of Grass, to better know ourselves and our faith as Unitarian Universalists, we consider among those among us who made history and those who are making history still as we speak. Clara Barton, you've heard of her? She was born on Christmas Day in 1821 in Oxford, Mass, into a Universalist family. She was living in Washington, D.C. when the Civil War landed at her doorstep. She began nursing wounded soldiers in her sister's home, visiting army camps, and soon was orchestrating the delivery of supplies from numerous ladies' aid societies. After a short time, she began working on the front lines, delivering supplies and tending to wounded soldiers. Such were her heroic efforts that she came to be known as Angel of the Battlefield. Despite occasional bouts of illness, she continued her efforts, working alongside a host of women volunteers that included Dorothea Dix, Frances Dana Barker Gage, and Mary Livermore. Frances Gage became a very close friend, and when Barton sometimes expressed frustration at the barriers that women faced in her line of work, Gage introduced Barton to the idea and to the women's rights movement. Barton and Gage also often discussed their shared Universalist faith, which they both credited with influencing and inspiring their work. After the Civil War, Barton visited Europe and learned of the International Red Cross, an organization which had been established under the First Geneva Convention. She returned home determined to start an American chapter, struggling against the prevailing political mood to advocate for the organization. In 1881, the American Red Cross was founded. First years of its existence were difficult, and Barton's own health was often compromised by overwork. Yet she remained a passionate advocate for the agency. She persevered and served as the president of the Red Cross until 1984, when she retired at the age of 83. And she died 8 years later in 1912. This is our heritage. For our hope, I'd like to tell you about Levi Bresnahan. He was born in 2008. He was also born into a Universalist family. He was born in the Treasure Coast area of Florida. His life centered around nature. He loved swimming, sailing, and surfing, and he dreamed of someday becoming a marine biologist. But his world began changing. Warming temperatures led to widespread sargassum seaweed and harmful algae blooms in the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian River Lagoon, which together circle the barrier island where he lived. The seaweed and algae blooms had left beaches stinking with rotting seaweed, and dead marine life. The algae blooms killed off seagrass, leading to an unprecedented die-off of manatees, the ones that consume the marine plants. On some days, Levi had to wear a mask when he went to the beach to guard against the smell. Warming temperatures also contributed to stronger storms and more damaging storms, as we all know. In 2017, Hurricane Irma caused flood waters to rise in his front yard, leading his family to move to the mainland, something that made Levi extremely sad. So Levi's been an environmental activist since the age of 8, if you can imagine. In 2015, he became the youngest child to join the lawsuit against the U.S. government brought by Our Children's Trust. He was among 21 young plaintiffs from across the country to file a lawsuit against the Obama administration and then later the Trump administration, challenging the federal government's development of fossil fuels. The plaintiffs contended that the system violated their constitutional rights to freedom, life, and property. The case has been thrown out of the courts multiple times, but as of 2024, the case, which is known as Leana versus United States, is still bouncing around in the courts. Levi himself attended all of the hearings in Eugene, Oregon, accompanied by his mother, and he even went to Washington, D.C. to speak to congressional leaders about the issue. In 2021, he joined a second lawsuit brought by a group of children from Florida. Again, under the wing of Our Children's Trust, the lawsuit admonished state leaders for ignoring a statutory mandate passed under the Crist administration to develop goals for converting the state to renewable energy. As we all know, Florida is among the states most vulnerable to climate change and yet lacks any real plan to address the main cause behind warming temperatures and to wean the state off of fossil fuels. The petition that they sponsored called on the state government to set goals for Florida toward moving to 100% clean energy by 2050. Both Levi and his mom, Leanne, who works at the Brevard UU Church, credit their UU faith for inspiring them to take action. Levi points out that children are not old enough to vote on issues that affect their future, so taking part in lawsuits is something that they can't do. He also says he feels a unique responsibility about climate change as a person of color. He points out low-income communities and communities of color are often more vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And he says, African American people sometimes, most of the time, we don't live in as safe or as strong a neighborhood. Or if we do, then it's the area that is more greatly affected than some other people that may have better opportunities. After spending half of his life already, he's now 16, after spending half of his life involved in climate litigation aimed at holding governments accountable, Levi says he wouldn't have it any other way. The final quote from Levi himself, "If you were given an opportunity to stop an explosion that would kill everyone, if you don't take that opportunity and then you survive, that's something that will always be there, that you'll always know you didn't do something that you could have done." Levi is our hope. And now we'll have our wisdom story by Ms. Karen Gonzalez.
Today's tale is a book called Change Sings by Amanda Foreman. We're going to talk about how we all have a part to play in creating change. That's what we're talking about this morning. That's what Ms. Leanna's going to be talking about with the grown-ups when we leave. It's about change and creating change. Ms. Gorman wrote these words to be an anthem, a song that uplifts and calls us to action. Perhaps that's why Ms. Long used many different orchestra instruments in her illustrations. Playing together in a band is hard work and very exciting. The sound is more than just each instrument. Combined, the sound is huge and beautiful. And when we work together to create change and affect the world, it can be huge and beautiful. I can hear change coming in its loudest, proudest song. I don't fear change coming, and so I sing along. I scream with the skies of red and blue streamers. I dream with the cries of tried and true dreamers. I'm a chant that rises and rings. There is hope for my change sings. Though some don't understand it. Ooh, now I'm going too fast. I have to slow down. This was an experiment. Are we sure it's still So what I neglected to say is that this book was written by Amanda Gorman, who, some of you might remember, was the inaugural poet at President Biden's inauguration. She was also the first National Youth Poet Laureate. And the book is illustrated by Lauren Long, who's the one who, I'm guessing, decided to create an orchestra as part of the storyline. We're gonna start over. No? We're just gonna read it. It's okay. Just read it. It's all right. We're gonna start at the beginning though. I can hear change coming, and it's loud as proud as song. I don't fear change coming, and so I sing along. I scream with the skies of red and blue streamers. I dream with the cries of tried and true dreamers. I'm a chant that rises and rings. There is hope where my change sings. Though some don't understand it, those windmills of mysteries, I sing with all the planet and its hills of histories. I hum with 100 hearts, each of us lifting a hand. I use my strengths and my smarts, take a knee to make a stand. I'm bright as the light each day brings. There is love where my change sings. I show others tolerance, though it might take some courage. I don't make a taller fence, but fight to build a better bridge. I talk not only of distances from where and how we came. I also walk our differences to show we are the same. I'm a movement that roars and springs. There's a wave where my change sings. Change sings where? There, inside me, because I'm the change I want to see. As I grow, it grows like seeds. I am just what the world needs. I'm the voice where freedom rings. You're the love your bright heart brings. We are the wave starting to spring, for we are the change we sing. We're what the world is becoming, and we know it won't be long. We all hear change strumming. Won't you sing along? Won't you sing along? And now, let's go make some change.
We love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day.
We sustain and strengthen this beloved community and its work in our world through the gifts of our time, our skills, our love, and our money. Each Sunday, a quarter of our undesignated offerings goes to Life Net for Families, which provides meals, clothing, and support for those in need here in Broward County. The remainder supports our mission and ministry at Rivergrass. Ushers, please come forward to receive the offering. also give via the QR code on the screen and find several ways to contribute on the donate page on our website at riverofgrassuu.org. Please give generously and joyfully for our labors of love. Thank you so much for these generous gifts on your hearts.
So good morning again. So I get the unenviable task of following Rev Amy from last week. Last week, Rev Amy spoke in her service that she called The Labors of Love. And thus the title of my service today is The Labors of Love Continued. Because that's the reality, right? As you probably know, Unitarian Universalism is a denomination. We have no hierarchical structure to direct River of Grass or any member congregation, or to dictate to us or to fund us. The Unitarian Universalist Association, which is known as the UUA, is the central organization for the UU religious movement in the United States. It's made up of 1,000+ member congregations across the country. Each UU congregation is autonomous. Congregations set their own priorities, set their own missions, set their own budgets, determine their activities, choose their own ministers and their own staff. The UUA supports its congregations by training ministers, providing religious education curricula, offering shared services, and so many other things. So River of Grass is a member of the UUA. River of Grass is a community striving to become the beloved community we have in our hearts. River of Grass is made up of us, its members and friends. As I said, we elect our own leaders, we select our own minister, we set our own budget, we decide on our own mission, plans, and activities. River of Grass is quite simply put, the sum of what we all do together, the sum of our labors of love. River of Grass is made up of its people, and fascinating people we are too. I can honestly say, totally 100% honestly, that in all these years, I have never once had a deep conversation with a member of River of Grass and walked away saying, wow, that was a boring conversation. Quite the contrary. Every single one of us is endlessly fascinating. We are people of accomplishment who have lived fascinating lives, people of varied opinions and interests, and above all, people of tremendous caring and heart, and also talents and skills. Goodness gracious, such a talented group of people we are. For our members and friends who've been attending regularly for some time, I ask you, have you ever taken time to think deeply and ask yourself to define what being part of River of Grass means in your life or in the life of your family? And on the other hand, have you ever deeply considered what your life would be like if River of Grass were not here, if it ceased to exist? What are the dimensions of the whole that might leave in your life? I myself had that conversation, the second one, about what it would be like without River of Grass, with myself and with my husband Ken 15 years ago, when we as a congregation faced a, well, perhaps crisis is too strong of a word, let's say an urgent situation. No, well, actually, it probably was a crisis. We had just lost our minister at the time. We did not believe we had the budget to responsibly hire another one right away. So we made the decision as a congregation to become lay-led for the first time in our history, until we could get our financial house back in order. It had been a turbulent few years in our congregational life, Not only did we lose our minister, we had also bought property on which to build a sanctuary, and then had gone through the painful process of accepting and realizing we could not afford that either. It was an emotionally wrenching decision to sell that property, the same property in which many of us had invested our dreams. The fact that we sold at the top of the market, right before the economic crisis or crash of 2008, and that the proceeds of the sale created that nest egg that we still have and that we're still investing in order to eventually get our permanent home. Well, it helped a little knowing we made a wise financial decision, but it still hurt our souls deeply. It was a dream deferred, and for how long we could not have imagined at the time. This was also the time we felt the need as a congregation to write our first, and to date only, covenant of right relations. Because all of these challenges, financial and otherwise, had brought conflict into our midst. Lo and behold, we learned that UUs really are human too. And we don't always live up to our highest aspirations of who we want to be when it comes to dealing with each other. And so we wrote together the covenant of right relations. That has been our guide ever since. Anyway, I could tell many stories, but the bottom line is that Riverhead Grass had sailed through some rough waters for a few years. And it was at that time that I remember talking to Ken about considering the alternative. What if we just stopped trying so hard and just let River of Grass drift away from our lives? What if we all did that and River of Grass just ceased existing? What would that be like? And it didn't take long for us to come up with the answer for us. No way. Our lives would be so much more impoverished if we allowed that to happen. The companionship of these marvelous people, no longer seeing each other every Sunday, the good work we do as UUs in this world, no longer, the joy and inspiration we gained each Sunday, no more. That was not something we were prepared to let happen, because we could feel the huge hole that would have left in our lives. And so along with many other members and friends, we simply got back to work, together, figuring it out together, making it happen together, learning new skills, practicing our bravery as we did things we had never done before, together. True labors of love. And we did it, together. We survived, we even thrived those several years, and we also appreciated so much more when the next minister came into our life. The wonderful Reverend Amy Carol Webb. When we found her several years later, we truly understood on a very deep level how much having a professional minister means and what gifts of the Spirit a minister brings. The point is, though, that to Ken and me and to a whole bunch of other people, we were not willing to let go of River of Grass without a fight, without lots of labors of love. And love won the day, and we are all here as a result. So to everybody that was here back then and contributed those labors of love, thank you. And to those who are newer to River of Grass, which I think is most people in this room, knowing this history might explain some of the intensity you may sense when you walk in and you see volunteers everywhere running around volunteering for everything and probably doing more than is actually healthy. Because we have that sense in our bones that it's up to us and we have to make sure it happens. Labors of love. So on the other hand, if we go back to that first question that I was talking about, if we try to express in words, and I'll just speak for myself, what being part of River of Grass has meant and still means to me. And how does River of Grass enrich my life? Well, there are so many things. I could be here for another 30 minutes, so I just try to highlight the most important to me. First of all, it is the inspiration, courage, and strength I derive from being in close community with such spiritually evolved people, from our worship services, from the good work we do together. It is inspiration to be more, to do more, to care more, and to work every day to transform myself into the most powerful person I can be. It is the challenge to live out my values in our beloved community and outside our doors. It is to be loved for who I am, to be free to be who I am, express what I think, to feel what I feel without fear of ridicule. It is permission to be fully human with zero facade required. It is permission to be human, to make mistakes, to learn, and move on without self-flagellation. I am a recovering perfectionist. In short, it is freedom. It is to be comforted in times of grief and to celebrate my joys with people who truly feel my joy as if it were their own. It is permission to cry without embarrassment or shame. It is the challenge of living in community, true community with respect and love for all, even when we may be very different from each other or see things differently. Even when we have conflict, it is to always put love and respect at the center. It is the challenge and joy of commitment to each other, living in covenant. It is the joy of being in a relationship with such awesome people as you all. And again, every single one of you is awesome. Every single one of you is fascinating. Every single one of you has lived and is living a life of worth and dignity. It is permission to freely express the love and awe I feel for life, for our human community, for the marvels of this beautiful planet. It is to be my idealistic self without fear. It is accepting the challenge to come out of my sort of semi-introverted self, to take the mantle of leadership with joy and hope and determination and without fear. And at the same time, it is to know and respect myself, coming to understand what I need to be healthy and to feel joy. It is stepping up to the challenge of now leading the congregation as president to be all that we can be. It is the challenge to make time for my own spiritual life, to grow spiritually, to learn how to grow older if I am so blessed, gracefully and gratefully, with acceptance of the cycle of life. And as I said, it is so much more. So maybe someone listening to me right now could possibly be thinking about these joys and challenges that I've just talked about and say that they're not there for you at River of Grass. Maybe you feel like you're on the outside looking in. Maybe it's intimidating to see people around here who are so busy or seem to know so well what they are doing. Maybe you feel like your talents and skills will not be welcomed or appreciated. I can assure you that every single person who shares our UU values is welcomed and needed. In fact, we are waiting for you, for the talents and passions you bring. There are so many needs this congregation has. There is so much good work to do. There are so many deep needs in this world. And there is such a variety of tasks. No matter your stage in life, there are so many ways you can contribute your labors of love to help this amazing congregation thrive even more. One of the secrets that I learned at River of Grass is this. While we all go through different stages of life, that's obvious. There are times, and there were times in my own life when I was so busy with family and career, I was able to come to worship semi-regularly, and that was about it. There were also times when I actually accepted a responsibility at River of Grass and then failed to carry it out very well. And yet, I was always loved, and never made to feel less than. Looking back, I do find that when I regularly participate, when I help out regularly in many ways, in any of many ways, I feel more joy. I feel more contentment, and my connections grow and deepen. I grow as a human being in community. I know that's true for me, and I think it may be true for most people, at least many. It also turns out that it's actually fun and joyful to work together. I remember breaking our old sanctuary down for concerts and then putting them all back together, moving chairs and tables quickly, and setting up the little table where we sold we asked for donations for our wine and the quiches that Ken used to make. It was actually fun, these labors of love. So there is an important caveat though. There is a limit to how much one can give. Sometimes we can over-volunteer, and before we know it, we begin to suffer from burnout. River of Grass can become a source not of joy, but of stress. That has also happened to me in the past. And so I learned from that it's up to all of us, as best we can, to practice self-care, to monitor how we are feeling, and set appropriate boundaries. We all have to take care of ourselves and not let ourselves become depleted and exhausted. I heard this expression recently, and it meant a lot to me. In the parlance of air travel, we have to put our own oxygen masks on before we can help anybody else. So it's always okay, it truly is always okay to say no if you're invited to take on a new role, or to give up one that you currently have. Remember, total love and acceptance. And we also need to look out for each other too, to kind of help each other not become burned out to the point of exhaustion. And as a corollary to this, the health and well-being of each person is paramount, along with the health and depth of our relationships with each other and our care for each other. So sometimes that means that there are things that we as a congregation simply cannot do. Even though they align with our mission and are important and are worthy, simply because we don't have the size, or we don't have the funding, or we don't have enough people power to make them happen. Having the wisdom as leaders to discern when to urge us on, to take on new activities and plans, or when, on the other hand, we need to step back and plan for later, or figure out a better or smarter way to do them. Well, that is why your leaders get paid the big bucks. Not. Our pay is in the love department. We are all volunteers, and these are labors of love. So here's where change comes in. We gotta tie it to the story, right? As Rabbi Amy said last week, the tectonic plates of our world are shifting faster than ever before. The ways we communicate, the attitudes and habits of younger than most of us, generations, not all of us, but most of us, the insidious after effects of the isolation and terror of the pandemic we just lived through, the polarized toxic environment in which we live, the lurking threat to our democracy and to our very future on this beautiful and fragile blue boat home. All are impacting how we must act to survive and thrive, first as human beings, and then what we must do to be a successful and thriving UU congregation here in Western Broward County. Even our core UU documents have changed as of June. From the list of 7 principles, which have been the center of my faith since I became a UU in 1984, and then the recent addition of the 8th principle, which we had all discussed, now since June, we have the image of a lovely flower, which expresses the values, not principles, but the values our movement has discerned together in their own labor of love, in our labor of love. Remember Jetpig? From last week?
Yes.
Jetpig, right. Let's say our values together. J is for
Justice.
E is for
Equity.
T is for
Transformation.
P is for
Plurality.
is it plurality or pluralism? Pluralism, yeah. I is for interdependence. And G is for and always with love at the center. I actually really love that flower. It's beautiful. Oh, sorry, it's beautiful. So I encourage you all to read on the UUA website, because these values actually encompass everything that we had in the principles and more. I was concerned about that. I didn't want to give up anything in our principles, but they're all still there, just expressed a little differently. What has not changed? Well, the power of our message of love, freedom, acceptance, and commitment to creating more love and more justice in our world. In our hyper-modern, super techie, social media world, can it be true? Could it possibly be true that what we offer is less sought, but really never more needed? If that's true, then how do we solve that conundrum? How do we adapt and evolve the way we operate so the gifts that we offer to the world can be made more known and accessible to more people? How can we meet people where they are today? How can we best meet their needs? Well, I know I certainly can't figure this out alone. I've been thinking about this conundrum for a while now, still don't have the answer, but I do have faith that if we focus on it, we can do it together. Another labor of love. In the coming weeks, we're going to be talking more about opportunities for those who love and are committed to River of Grass and our UU faith to contribute your own labors of love. And if you're moved today, or by what I've said, to take on a new labor of love, one that you can already see needs to be done, well, please come up and talk to me after the service. So as I end, I would like for everybody to please take home and know in your soul that we are all River of Grass, that the talents and passions of each one of us are truly valued and needed, that you are loved and valued at River of Grass for exactly who you are. The labors of love performed together in community bring great joy and deep contentment. That labors of love make this whole thing, this whole wonderful River of Grass, even possible. That what River of Grass offers to our extremely troubled world meets the deepest needs of those who are hurting. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. May you live in blessing. May we all live in blessing. And now let's sing together a hopeful song that expresses our hope for and commitment to creating that better world we dream of, a world of more justice with love at its center. Please rise in body or in spirit as you are so moved to sing together our closing song, Building a New Way. It is number 1017 in your teal hymnal, or the words are on the screen.
We are
Gonzalez referred to a while ago, our nation's youngest inaugural poet. And so we lift our gaze, not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promise. To glade the hill we climb, if only we dare. When day comes, we step out of the shade of flame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always a light, if we are only brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. Beautiful. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And stay around, we do have announcements.
At River of Grass, we know that Sunday is only the first day of a week filled with opportunities to live our Unitarian Universalist faith in a world starved for the kind of love we know. You can find these opportunities in our weekly email, which comes out when? When? Thursday. Our Facebook page and our website at riverofgrassuu.org. Here are some ways to fulfill our mission and vision in these coming days. River of Grass's annual report for the congressional year 2023-24 is now available on our website at the Member States section, or scan the QR code on the slide. The report details activities for the entire year of the committees, teams, and groups that help our river flow and grow.
And it has photos.
Oh, really?
It's fabulous.
Thank you.
We shall open it up this instant and discuss.
The River Film Group Movies, got MUUVIES, for Change, will meet on Wednesday, September 11th at 7 p.m. by Zoom to discuss The Other Shore, a documentary about the legendary 63-year-old swimmer Diana Nyad coming out of a 30-year retirement to complete her quest to swim from Cuba to Florida without a protective shark cage. For information, contact Steve Jens Rocco, there he is, at movies@rivergrassuu.org. The bookies will discuss The Light Pirate by Lily Brooks Dalton on Wednesday, September 18th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Set in the near future, this hopeful story of survival and resilience follows Wanda, a luminous child born out of a devastating hurricane, as she navigates a rapidly changing world as hurricanes increase and temperatures and sea levels rise rapidly. Set in the fictional town of Anchor on the southeast coast of Florida, Wanda grows as humanity progresses and Florida unravels. For more information, contact Steve Janrasco at bookies@riverofgrassuu.org. See, we'll do lots of jobs. New member ceremony, September 15th. It's not too late to be part of this simple and moving ceremony. If you have been attending River of Grass for a while and have come to consider this beloved community to be your spiritual home, please contact Leana Bresnahan at membership@riverofgrassuu.org to become a member. Join for this month's Super Saturday event to raise awareness and bring out the votes for Amendment 4, limiting government interference in women's healthcare decisions. So far, volunteers have contacted over 335,000 voters by knocking on more than 210,000 doors and making over 125,000 phone calls. And this congregation has already written 600 postcards to voters. But this is not the time to let up. On September 21st, we'll regather to knock on doors or write more postcards together. Look for the sign-up link in this week's email or see Karen Gonzalez for more information. Our auction. Believe it or not, it is time to start thinking about our annual auction, our most profitable event annually. We are moving into the fall, actually early November to be announced, from 6 to 9 p.m. The theme this year is Love is Giving, the love of giving. Just in time to purchase holidays items. There are 4 things, yes, you need to be thinking about to help with the auction. Do you have a special talent or skill you can share with others? Do you have a favorite place you'd like to go? A restaurant, sporting place, a favorite activity? Think of your donation. Donation forms will be available next week. And here's a big one. What type of party can you host? It can be a small, intimate dinner party, game night, musical night, event, craft, class. We usually make the most money on the parties. What items are you donating to the auction? Remember, these items have to be of the quality you would give to someone. Some ideas: jewelry, clothing, electronics, books, art. Ellie Keene is the chair and is always looking for helping hands to volunteer. She got me. So we need more help. Thank you.
I forgot it was there. Our own Rev Amy is going to be appearing on Facebook this afternoon at 4. I encourage you to check Facebook. To check Facebook to see where you can see Rev Amy. As we depart this place, let us hold before our eyes the vision of a world transformed through our labors of love, and dare to transform ourselves to make it so. Until we meet again, shine on!
Go